My time has not yet come. John chapter 2, 1 through 11. People often believe that everyone has their own time. When we are young, we say there are many possibilities. As we grow older, we feel that what we can do becomes more limited. So when we miss an opportunity, we think it will never come again, and we give up on ourselves, believing that our time has passed. But when we look at the wedding at Cana in John chapter 2, we learn that it is God who determines the time, and that what we think is the end can become the beginning in God's hands. Jesus, his disciples, and his mother were invited to a wedding in Cana of Galilee. While the celebration was still going on, they heard that the wine had run out. In those days when water was scarce, wine meant far more than just a drink. It was essential for welcoming guests and a symbol of joy and abundance at the feast. To run out of wine meant that the joy of the celebration was fading away. When Jesus' mother became aware of the situation, she told Jesus that they had no more wine. But Jesus replied, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My time has not yet come." Jesus moved according to his own time, the time appointed by God. What may look like a crisis or an opportunity in human eyes may still be too early from God's perspective. Even so, Jesus' mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Then Jesus told the servants to fill 6 stone jars with water. They obeyed his word. They filled the jars to the brim. Then he instructed them to draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet, and they did exactly as he said. Their obedience to Jesus' instructions that seemed completely out of place, became the key turning point of the story. As a result, the water in the jars was changed into wine. Not only that, but it was wine far better than before. The master of the banquet was amazed and said that most people serve the good wine first and then bring out the inferior wine later, but this family had saved the best wine until now. This scene is not simply a record of the miracle of water turning into wine. Through this story, we see how a life that follows God's timing and obeys his word, rather than human judgment and schedules, creates new possibilities. As we go through life, there are moments when we feel there is nothing left to hope for. We begin to think that the good wine of our lives is already gone, and that all that remains is a life with less flavor. But God's work often begins at the very point where we feel our limits. At an age we consider too late, in a place where no possibility seems left, God prepares a new beginning. Moses was called by God at the age of 80 and became the leader of Israel through obedience. By human standards, it seemed impossible, but within God's will, it was the most perfect timing. The remarkable transformation of water into wine took place through the process of obedience. When we obey words that do not make sense logically, commands that do not seem to fit our reality, God begins to work. That change may happen immediately or it may take time, but one thing is certain: when we obey God's word, our lives are changed as well. Our time has not passed, it still remains within God's time. What we are called to do is to listen carefully to his word and to obey beyond our circumstances. Then God takes our ordinary days, our ordinary lives, and turns them into wine once again. And not just any wine, but something far better.
Even when I thought the feast of my life was over, when joy grew cold and hope faded away, you looked at me in silence and gently said, "It's not your time, it's God's time." Like the house in Cana, where the wine ran dry, when my heart felt empty, nothing left inside, you said, "Fill the jars with water and do exactly what I say." When I obeyed a command, I it's already past. God's time is still moving on from the place where I gave up and walked away. You were preparing the very best, like the finest wine kept until the end. Your plans are always perfect, a love my mind could never comprehend, a leading I could never explain, when I simply obeyed your word. My ordinary days were changed to glory. This life I feel like water in plain jars, when placed before you becomes wine. Even in the moment I felt it was too late. You had not even begun. What I thought was the end became your beginning, and in the time I felt trapped and closed, you opened a brand new way. When you speak, I will obey, even when I do not understand. When the time comes that you choose to work, joy will overflow in my life again. Just like the place where water turned to wine, you are still doing something new